Greetings, dear friends, and welcome. It's another edition of the Brattlecast, brought to you by the Brattle Bookshop, a legendary bookshop in Boston on West Street. The proprietor is with me, Ken Gloss, and I'll tell you, well over 200 episodes now, and we have so much fun talking about what goes on a regular basis. But you mentioned that somebody recently brought in a collection of Ebony magazines. I remember Ebony magazine very well growing up in the 60s and 70s and so forth. Tell me more about this collection.
When you say brought in very recently, maybe 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
I mean, I literally was planning on something else, but the Ebonies came in. One of the interesting parts about any type of magazine is the cover photos. So I'll show you a few of the cover photos, and we talk. Here's Hank Aaron.
Oh.
And Willie Mays.
And by the way, that says 1971 on the cover. Is that what it says?
It's June of 1971.
Wow.
It was 75 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Here is Muhammad Ali with his new babies.
All of whom are well-grown adults by now.
And Sidney Poitier out by his pool and so on. But one of the great things about Ebony, and we get a lot of requests, is Life magazine was obviously the big, huge seller, and Life literally covered the life of America, and that was their idea from 1936 up through the 70s when they went from weekly to monthly, and then a few years after that. But Life really didn't cover the Black experience of America. And that's what Ebony magazine was intended to do. And it was an amazing magazine. And the wonderful thing from a collector's point of view, it's a lot harder to get. But when you go through Ebony, it's interesting. This is the 1970s. The back covers was, and it obviously is a somewhat upper scale, is a advertised for a Continental, which was probably just about in the same idea of Cadillac, the Ford Motor Company Cadillac. But then you start flipping through the ads. You get high-end liquors, and you also get a lot of cigarette ads. And not that anyone was particularly trying to go after the Black community, but cigarette ads were everywhere anyways.
Right.
But some of the stories, here's one, Nitro Nelly, lady drag racer pits persistence and guts against racing best. So they had a drag race, Black woman doing drag racing. And one of the things that I loved about the magazine, it really does give you a picture, really a picture of the middle class Black family in the 1970s and 80s. Now, I was looking at another issue and they were talking about a concert in Guyana in the 1970s. And I just was thumbing through, and it was Wilson Pickett and Tina Turner. And I'm saying to myself, boy, I would have loved to have gone to that concert. But it does get into Black leaders, Black leadership. One of the issues is a whole issue on the Black male, and it literally is going through the inventive genius of Black men. Williams, medical instructor, dermatologist, and then you get into wonderful areas of straightening out Durham High and telling about the high school experience. Man-Child in a Women's Land. In Harlem homes where there is no man, 12-year-old Ivan knows his role.
They had exceptional writers and photographers. I mean,
basically, it was the Life magazine, and it really shows what was going on at the time. And we've actually had a number of libraries recently. They're not going to be particularly interested in these issues, but they want full runs of Ebony. They have Life, but they wanted to teach a course. We had one college call us and they were hoping we could turn up like a full run of Ebony magazine to use it as coursework. And it, I just love what it is. Now I can imagine, I haven't read this article yet, but Black politics in the New South, considering what's going on now, maybe you could read about Black politics in the New South, and then you go ahead like 55 years. Probably you have a lot of the same issues.
We've talked about Life magazine being a chronicler of history as it's unfolding. And you're absolutely right. Ebony magazine was a chronicler of Black African American history pretty much at the same time.
And then you even have like commercials, advertisements for hair products. But what you really see there is the style of the time, what things look like. There was another magazine that I saw that had is the afro going out of style. The other, when you also look at a magazine like this, and growing up as I did all through the 70s, and you have the perspective of sort of the Life magazine world in life. And I love reading through magazines like this, and I think they're important because you get an idea of what other people were looking at the same events, that you start realizing that what you look at and saw for the time and remember as a world, that other people lived through the same events, same time, same things, but perceive it differently. And then probably this is a middle class magazine, probably in the poor, you'd experience it differently. So I always liked seeing that. But then I love, as Life magazine is, I love seeing the covers. There was one we got in with this of Diana Ross. Again, they were showing the area of the arts, entertainment, sports, but you can also see how the advertisers were also what market they were going after, what people they were saying. And sometimes going through those ads, and some of the even what you would now look at as sort of the fluff articles, you get a different picture of what the country was like, what they was concerned about, what they wanted, as opposed to what you get from the history books, which maybe are written in a totally different style, different way. And I have to admit, I bought them, and we buy and sell things. But before we even get to selling these, I am probably going to be sitting down the basement sometime maybe during a lunchtime when I get 10 or 15 minutes to myself and just thumb through the pages. And I would bet that I'll be going to somebody, oh, look at this, look at that, look what was happening. And the way things were viewed, the way people lived, I find it just fascinating. And when new things come in the store, I get excited.
You absolutely do, and you make me excited about this too, because as you and I have talked on many occasions about not just the news of the day, not just the history, but what were people wearing and buying and excited about beyond the nuts and bolts. And this is a great capsule of history.
Well,
Absolutely.
one of the things too, like I see Willie Mays and Hank Aaron on the cover, and of course, two of the greatest ball players. And in 1964, I went with a friend of mine. We got on a plane for, I think it was $15. Our mothers let us do it. We were like in our early teens, flew to New York on the shuttle for the World's Fair. The World's Fair was right across from Shea Stadium. We decided we'd go to a baseball game, but we had to catch the last plane back. But the center fielder for the Mets was Willie Mays.
Right.
And people are amazed that I actually saw Willie Mays play. And, his name is still out there as a great player. But you realize it was a long time ago.
It certainly was. I mean, as I mentioned, Muhammad Ali's children are now certainly adults and grew up over the decades as we did. And it's just Fantastic. And how many did you get in this
We
buy?
got about 15 issues.
Hmm.
One of the issues I'm really interested to read, there was an issue. It said 5 years later, the trash strike in Memphis, and of
Mm,
course, what they were referring to was Martin Luther King was assassinated
sure.
in that uh, trying to lead the union
Right.
against the city and town, and I'm really fascinating to read about how it was viewed 5 years later. Had there been progress? Were the things were better? But like I say, I got them 10 minutes ago, and I can't read that fast.
Well, I have a feeling those lunch breaks will be fascinating, and it's just another example of the kinds of materials that come through and that you purchase and then resell. But sometimes you hang on to them a while so you can read them, and I don't blame you.
Uh, yeah, I hang on to them occasionally, but it's also I get excited when something comes in, and I wish more Ebony magazines, Jet magazines. Um, we one time had a number of the abolitionist newspapers from the 1800s, and I just love seeing how the world was written about at the time, not from a historical perspective, but from a different perspective and what people were living at the time. And that's a lot with these magazines, the photographs, the pictures, the advertising, the letters. They show it in a totally different way than you normally hear about it.
Fascinating world and a fascinating business that we talk with you about on a regular basis, and we'll continue to do so. Don't forget to go to brattlebookshop.com, dear friends. Visit when you come to Boston. And Ken, we have some great shows coming up. I can't wait to get into it with you.
Well, this one was fun. We'll see if I get distracted from something 10 minutes before we record this, because I had a really great one about a pen. I show people pictures of it. They don't know what it is. Another broadcast.
That's called a teaser. That'll keep people very
but
much.
It's a great teaser because I loved it.
That's Ken Gloss. I'm Jordan Rich. You've been listening to the Brattlecast.